Hi, how are you this evening? This is Steve Clark here reporting for KLAM, and I have a letter here that came across my desk the other day. It's by Alan Turnbull in Bala, and if any of you have wondered what the global adjustment is on your hydro bill, this letter will surely explain to you. I will read it to you right now. Dear Editor, here is a great trivia question to ask your friends. How much has the price of electricity fallen in Ontario in the past 7 years? No, that is not a misprint. How much has the price of electricity fallen in Ontario in the past 7 years? The answer contained in the Ontario Auditor General's 2014 annual report is 46%. So why do you not see that reflected in your hydro bill? Why does your hydro bill just keep going up and up? The answer is due to something called the global adjustment, but which would be more accurately called the Ontario Subsidy of Hydro Producers. The price of electricity that shows up on your hydro bill, and here I am not talking about the delivery charge or the debt retirement charge, but simply the charge for the electricity that you use, is made up of two components. The first component, the price that Ontario's electricity sells for on the open market, and the second component, the global adjustment, has gone up by almost 1,200%, from $654 million in 2006 to $7.7 billion, that's billion with a B, in 2013. That's why your electricity bill has kept going up whilst the price of electricity has kept coming down. So just what is this global adjustment? Basically, it is a subsidy that is added to our electricity bills. In the Auditor General's words, to cover the gap between the guaranteed prices paid to the contracted power generators and the electricity market price. It exists because most power generators in Ontario have contracts with the province that pay them considerably more than the market price, which is actually about 3 cents per kilowatt hour. By 2015, the 10-year cumulative global adjustment cost is expected to reach a staggering $50 billion. To put this in perspective, $50 billion is sufficient to cover the 2014 provincial deficit of $10.5 billion, almost 5 times. 5 times. It is enough to pay the annual salary of about 2.3 million Ontarians, working full-time at the provincial minimum wage, and it is about 7.5 times more than the $6.6 billion spent in the 2012-2013 fiscal year on social assistance programs. And things are going to get worse. As more new hydro plants come online, we will all pay even more in global adjustment charges. The root of this problem is that Ontario is paying huge subsidies to generate electricity that is not needed. Since 2005, demand for electricity in Ontario has been falling. However, instead of adjusting to this fall in demand by reducing supply, the province actually increased capacity. As a result, the supply of available power has steadily increased, and consistently much higher than the reserve that Ontario's independent electricity system operator is required to maintain above peak demand. And what happens to this surplus? It ends up being exported to our neighbours, who also happen to be our business competitors. Between 2006 and 2013, net exports have grown by 158%, from 5.2 terawatt hours in 2006 to 13.4 terawatt hours in 2013. Unfortunately, as the export price has been well below cost, these exports are being sold at a loss. It is economically unsound to keep adding capacity to an oversaturated market. The fall in the market price of electricity would normally result in a decrease in supply, but because of the subsidy, there is no check on the subsidised producers who keep producing and producing, or even being paid not to produce, whether there is a demand for their product or not. It's as if GM kept increasing production as their dealers were unable to sell their inventory. GM would not normally do that. They would cut their prices, they would cut back on production, shut down plants, and definitely cancel any plans for new facilities. But if they were guaranteed that they would get the same price for every car that they produced, whether or not any of them could be sold, then of course they would just keep right on producing. and would even add new plants to increase production, and it is exactly what is happening in the Ontario electricity market. Unbelievably, the province is planning on even more overcapacity, as the people of Bala know only too well. In the light of the Auditor General's report, it just makes no sense at all to build the proposed Bala Falls hydro plant. It would simply increase the oversupply of electricity in the province and add to the global adjustment, and therefore add even more to your hydro bill. The Bala Falls hydro plant is not just a disaster for Bala, destroying the park beside the falls where people have come for generations to visit one of the most beautiful spots in Muskoka, and endangering the water-based recreation on the Moon River. It is part of a larger disaster for all the people of Ontario, who are being gouged through their hydro bills to subsidise a few wealthy developers to produce something that is not needed. It is not just the people of Bala who should feel aggrieved, as their concerns and questions have been ignored by the government and proponent for the last 10 years, nor is it the Wata Mohawks, whose historic portage will be destroyed whilst the government ignores their duty to consult with them. Every hydro user in Ontario, including everyone in Muskoka and everyone reading this newspaper, should feel angry at the government policy which makes no sense and which is costing them dearly. It is not only the people of Bala who will suffer if this proposal goes ahead, it is everybody in Ontario. Alan Turnbull in Bala. I completely agree with what he just said. It is absolutely insane that this is continuing on. It's not just the natives who have not been consulted with. We have not been consulted with about any of these expansions or plans with Hydro One. And what my personal belief is in all of this is that you're going to see that this is a lead up to selling Hydro One. This is a lead up to convincing you that this is such a disaster that we need to get rid of Hydro One and sell it into the private sector. And as bad as you may think it is right now with Hydro One and the mismanagement and the obvious idiocy going on at the senior management level, if Hydro falls into private hands, well, let me tell you a little story about what happened in England when the government decided to privatise their hydro. And so what happened was they sold it off. It ended up getting regionalised, of course, and electricity prices went up everywhere. And then after the owners had basically bled everything they could out of the system, because hydro is an essential service or an essential requirement for all homes, they replaced nothing. They did no work on infrastructure, and when it came time to replace, they basically threw up their arms and said, you know what, you let it get this way, we're not paying for it. If you don't give us a subsidy, we're out of here. Okay? They're building a new nuclear plant in England. This is a Chino-French partnership, and the British government has promised both these partners that they will double their money, which means hydro prices are going to be double under this private consortium. If you look at South Africa, where I believe, I'm not going to say the name because it's one or two and I'm not certain, so I'm not going to say that here, but their whole water management system is under a private company, and it now costs in Cape Town 1 week's wages to pay for a month's worth of water. Can you imagine paying 1 week's wages for a month's worth of hydro? And this is where we're going. Mark my words, you're starting to hear announcements all over the place hinting at this, that maybe we should sell off Brampton Hydro. Karen Stintz in the past election, the Toronto municipal election, oh, we should sell off Toronto Hydro and privatise that. These little comments are meant to get you used to hearing the idea and maybe repeating it. Oh yeah, the best thing we could do is privatise that, and then at least there'll be some competition in the system. Well, there'll be competition, all right. Competition for your dollars. So be very careful about what you believe would happen if this would be privatised. What we really need to do is clean up Hydro's act. The senior management need to either wake up or go. Okay, they are there to provide hydro to Ontarians, not make a profit. And right now, they're bleeding red ink all over the place. I can assure you that these smart meters, which now cost upward of 2.2 billion, I think I read the other day, to install, 1/6 of which have never given a reading to Hydro One, they're getting ready to be replaced because these hydro meters only last 7 to 10 years. So we're going to go through the whole process again. And I've heard rumours that you are going to pay for your own meter next time. This is a $500 charge, and I will assure you that Hydro will just put that on your bill, and if you don't pay it, they'll cut you off, because that's what they do. This is an entirely bully mentality in this system. It's what happened to me when I took my smart meter off the wall to protect my health and to stop myself from being spied upon without my consent, and next thing you know, whoops, put it back on or we're shutting you down. It's just bully, bully, bully. No wonder they can't solve the bullying problem in schools. How can a bully solve a bullying problem? So here we are, be very careful. I would call your MPP, whether it be Liberal, Conservative or NDP, and make a point of saying that no, we don't want Hydro privatised, we want the management cleaned up. We want the mandate rewritten to what it was when Alan Beck founded Hydro. Hydro for all Ontarians at cost. This is what made Ontario an industrial heartland. So we're going to allow a private company, and we're already allowing a foolish government who does not see this and just doesn't have the stomach to stand up to all of the idiocy that is going on here. I just shake my head. I just shake my head. We're all suffering from this. The stories I'm hearing in my store are unbelievable. People are making incredibly difficult choices. Why are we kneecapping our own? Isn't the government there to look out for our best interests? Who is the boss? Now, I'm going to ask you a simple question here, because I've been thinking about this a little bit just lately. And you know, if you or any of us were to go into a restaurant and buy a meal and have to pay for it ahead of time, say you went into a steakhouse, you order your steak, you pay for your steak, which is basically what we do with the government, and then they come and give you a bowl of rice. Well, I'm pretty certain that you would go immediately to the counter and go, hey, what the hell's this? I paid for steak, I got rice. But this is what's going on. We're paying for steak and we're getting a bowl of rice from these people who are supposed to be leading Ontario into some kind of future. Well, I don't think they have a clue. I think they have no direction for this province or this country, and they are just set to fleece the public by any method that they can. And Hydro is a great one because you gotta have it. They got instant leverage, and you have no recourse in the court system unless you got deep pockets and lots of time. So anyways, I'd like to thank Alan Turnbull for writing this letter, and for the person who sent it to me, and I am pleased to be able to bring that to you, and I hope now you understand a little better what the global adjustment charge is on your bill. Okay, well, thanks a lot. This is Steve Clark for KLAM, signing off.